it's great to have Robyn back. We're always happy when Robyn's here. So I am your servant and minister today of sorts, and I have the pleasure of lighting the Christ candle, which, as you know, each of you have the Christ light shining in you. Please join me in prayer. We come together as a spiritual family to celebrate the Christ light that shines in each one of us. We are blessed with an abundance in our lives and pray for those who may be experiencing lack at this time, be it housing, health, or simply a lack of consciousness. We are grateful for the wisdom of those who lead lives that are making our world a better place for all, and we embrace the truth that the Spirit of God is active in each of us, so that we may have lives that reflect the model of our way shower, Jesus, who taught us. Together we hold a vision of a world transformed by love and kindness and to a spiritual awakening. We don't just think those thoughts, but are active in our work for others who are less fortunate. We maintain our strength in the face of challenges, and we celebrate our successes. We say yes to the joy that invites us in moments in our lives, and we are mindful of these blessings. For all these gifts that we receive, we are grateful and say, thank you, God. Amen.
Okay. It's time for a joy song, right? Can I just say just something really quick? So I just got off of the Wonderland Trail, which is 93 miles around Mount Rainier, yesterday. I'm tired. But as I was like fording a stream with my headlamp in the dark, I was singing to myself, I'm in the right place. I'm just where I'm supposed. Seriously. And I was like rehearsing in my head for this gig. And God is my source. So are we standing for joy songs these days? We are standing. So please join me again. Stand up. We're going to sing God is my source. And there was a moment when I was singing this going around, and the word that came out of my mouth was, God is my choice. God is my power. And it was really interesting because I really do believe that we get what we focus on, isn't it? Right?
who's joining us online. And we start by acknowledging that in this place, this is the traditional homeland of the Seychelles and other indigenous tribes. And we know that their presence is in these mountains and the valleys and the waterways, and we are grateful for this. And we have a lesson today from Lisa for the children.
We do have one 3-year-old, I think, coming on up. They can come on up. But we can go ahead and we can talk still about what we're doing today. So how's everybody doing? Everybody fabulous today? All right. Anybody know what the power of the month is? You got it. It is the power of will. What does it mean to be willing? What does it mean to be willing? Anybody want to answer? Say it again. Determined. Open, able, committed. That's an interesting. We all were willing to come here today. We're all willing to be here. And that is, it's huge because, Greg had to practice what he was going to do today. I had to get things ready. Music was practiced even if it was on a trail, right? She practiced her music. We all had to be willing, but that commitment part is important because it's not just showing up sometimes, it's showing up and knowing what we're going to do today. All right, so we've been using Diane Benzera's 12 powers is what we've been working with in the back. And in that 12 powers, it says about willingness. Let me go back a couple pages. Come on over, yay! To be willing is to choose to let the Spirit of the Divine understanding direct our lives. It is being willing to link our minds with God. Willing to link our minds with God and to have access to the unlimited power of Spirit. I bet you're willing to go back, aren't you? You want to go play with the trains? Yes, he's willing. He's willing to go back there and play with the trains with us today. And when we're thinking about willingness being an opposite of willfulness, it's like when we're listening to truth and when we're not listening to truth. So we can be willing to do something, or we can use our willfulness to do what we want to do. So with kids, I say, if mom says, don't touch this piece of glass, like it's a glass, beautiful vase, and she looks at you and she says, don't touch it, you want to touch it anyway. You have to use your will to say, okay, I'm going to listen to my mom, right? I'm going to listen and I'm not going to touch it, even though it's really pretty and I want to touch it. I know I got to listen to my mom. That's listening to your higher self. That's listening to the truth that you are. Yeah, the truth that you are. Okay, our affirmation today. Oh, I went one more example of will. Has anybody been watching the Olympics? Oh my gosh, the will that it must take. All those, I'm sure every one of you has a player in mind that you can, Simone Biles, one of the runners, every one of you has a player in mind that you can look at their will and you can see how determined and committed they were to be able to participate. And sometimes we got to find that deep inside of us, don't we? That's what we'll be looking at today. So our affirmation today is I choose my actions based on truth. Together. I choose my actions based on truth. Thank you very much.
Singing anybody else?
Yeah.
And please know that it's your generosity that helps support all of our programs, like the youth program and the music program with wonderful guest musicians like Robyn and our in-house musicians too. So now I would like to invite Holly Sharp for a treasurer's update.
do what we can to support our community. In this way, we put feet to our faith in this God's abundant world. I'm never quite sure what to talk about in these reports to you, so I decided I'm just repeating the report that was in this week's newsletter, so in case you didn't read it. But I have an addition to that. But was it by divine design that today's daily word is prosperity? I live an abundant life. That blew me away when I read that this morning. So we continue along a path of abundance, which we all can appreciate and celebrate through our regular conscious contributions. And some way to make these conscious contributions is one, set up an automatic contribution through Breeze on Unity of Olympia webpage. Use Venmo or the Cash App at the Unity of Olympia. Link your Fred Meyer Kroger card to Unity, and a percentage of that comes to the church. It's a good thing. And Unity of Olympia was recently the beneficiary of the state Sally Wenzel. This was a very thoughtful, very generous contribution. And another thing, required minimum distribution benefits for nonprofit donations. One advantage of being over 72.5, I am, is that you can designate all or part of your required minimum distribution from a 401k, stocks, bonds, etc., directly to the nonprofit of your choice for a tax benefit. For instance, you could do your monthly giving from your 401 and directly to Unity and tax-free. You don't have to pay a tax on it. Good thing. Then Diana reminded me last night, another one, the Puget Sound Energy has a flex program. And if you sign up for that, you can earn rewards or an energy exchange credit for kilowatts saved and that. So then you could then donate that savings to Unity and save the planet at the same time. So please consider your Unity spiritual community as one of your choices. Keep in mind that it is each one of you who enables the church to continue its important work for us, for our community, and for our world. And thank you for your generosity.
Thank you, Holly. And as we get ready to transition into the prayer portion of our service, one of the prayer members is going to be holding the prayer box, and we're going to have a reading from Linda.
Good morning. Our honorary prayer team member can't get her to join me, but someday maybe. If you want a prayer request, you can put it in either of the two boxes, one in the back and one in the front. We hold them in private, confidential prayer for a week, and then we send them to Silent Unity, where they're held for another 30 days. And I will be available after service if you want in-person prayer. And you can always go online. We do emails and phone calls if they have requests online too. So please join us and hold the consciousness of all prayers being answered. All right, today's daily word is prosperity. Thank you, Holly. I live an abundant life. It often has been said, you can't take it with you. While it is true that money and material possessions must be left behind when I transition from this life, these things are not the source of my prosperity. My true wealth lies in my consciousness, my ability to give and receive love, to share what I have and receive from others with equal joy, to understand and use the creative power of thought, and to know myself and all people as living expressions of the divine. I live consciously and abundantly, making wise use of Earth's resources and drawing upon the limitless storehouse of divine ideas. Through the power of God within me, I enrich my life physically, emotionally, and spiritually. For Matthew 6, verse 20. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust consumes, and where thieves do not break in and steal. I live an abundant life. I invite you to affirm that with me. I live an abundant life. And we know this is the truth. And I'm going to put a plug in for the Quantum Living class. I'm doing another round beginning September 8th, Sunday afternoons. It won't be here. It will either be at my house or Kathy's house. If you've taken it before, I encourage you to take it again. As I've told many people, I've taken it 3 times, and it really took the 3rd time in order for me to really understand it, which is a law of the universe, if you didn't know.
Thank you, Linda. It's time for our statement of faith, so let us affirm our statement of faith. Together, there is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, God the good, all power, presence, and wisdom. It is in God that we live, move, and have our being.
Something different for special music. You can stay seated for this, right? But I'm up here all by myself, except Ted, and Ted's playing, and I'm up here singing all by myself. So I need your help, okay? And it's really easy, just repeat after me, okay? Sit up a little straighter so that your guy friend is there and you can hear it. Sing it like you mean it, right? Here we go. Inside of you, there is a light, from head to toe, shining bright. I wish for you, same as me, live your life in harmony, now shine, now glow, now live, now know, now shine, now glow, now live, now know. You got it? Should we do it one more time? And this time let's sing inside of me. Inside of me, there is a light, from head to toe, shining bright. I wish for you, same as me, live your life in harmony, Say it like you know it. Now shine, now glow, now live, now know, now shine, now glow, now live, now know.
I haven't even started. Great job there. Thank you. Well, good morning, everybody. It's really my great pleasure to have the opportunity to share my pathway on discovering where can we find the path to God. Sometimes, the source. Sometimes I really struggle with this, as you're going to find out, but I don't struggle with it so much anymore. So I want to walk you through the pathway that I have taken and see if maybe it resonates with you as well. Now, as you know, in the Youth Ed Department, they're studying the book Chip the Monk, and last week Reverend Gary read part 1 to you. I am not going to read part 2. I'm going to give you the totally brief summary, and here is the summary. The wise one who lived in the wisdom tree looked up and saw a chipmunk on a branch and said, "This is the one." Well, I think that's a great story, except I have to tell you, We have squirrels, we have deer, we have raccoons running around in our backyard, and never once do I think they are the one. I just have a feeling like the source has to be somewhere a little richer than a four-legged critter. Now, at the same time, the Board of Trustees is currently reading a book that is fascinating. It's really a great book called The 15 Commitments of Conscious Leadership. And each of the chapters, each of the 15 chapters, talks about a commitment that we make. And the commitment for week 11 is absolutely spot on for my talk today. I'm going to circle back around to that at the very end. So the question becomes, well, if God is the source, then I have problems with that. Because when I was a child, I was raised in a church where my impression of God was that he was a wrathful storekeeper of my sins. And he's the guy that said at the end of my life, if I'm going to go that way, or I'm going to go that way. And if that was my source, it was only a source of fear for me. And I do not choose to live that one anymore. However, there are other ways of viewing God, which we're going to talk about. And about 2 months ago, Reverend Terry told a story that just tickles me. I've heard it several times. I can repeat it for you because it's appropriate for the talk. And that is of a schoolroom where the teacher told the children, I want you to draw a picture of anything. So some of the children drew a picture of a lizard, some drew a picture of a flower, and one little girl wasn't drawing. So the teacher went over and said, well, Ruthie, what are you going to draw today? And she said, I'm going to draw a picture of God. And the teacher said, oh, honey, nobody knows what God looks like. Well, probably with a look on her face like this, she said, well, in about 5 or 10 minutes, we're going to find out. What tickles me about this story is that she can conjure an image simply because she believes she can. What a nice definition of faith. And the teacher, on the other hand, saying, oh, we don't know what God looks like. So that is also a position, isn't it? So because I work with kids all the time, I always am drawn to them, and I really feel like her comment was an insight in faith that I can appreciate. I wish I could tell you I can show you a picture of God in the next 5 to 10 minutes, but I can't. It's taken me quite a long time to conjure an image that makes sense for me. So I want to tell you that I first came to Unity in 1986, arguably the worst year in my entire life. During 1986, I was having a building put up that ultimately became my dental office for the next 30 of some years. And my oldest brother passed away unexpectedly at the age of 43. And I was going through a divorce. It was not a good year. But when I came to Unity, I felt at home. And I've heard other people say the same thing. It felt like such a healing place. And I thought, this is going to give me a framework for how I can heal. Well, it was true, but my thought about healing comes from a medical vision. That is, you go to the doctor, that person will diagnose you, give you a pill, give you a shot, or recommend surgery, and you're fixed. Well, the healing here doesn't quite happen that way. It is a process. It's one that requires quite a bit of thought, and you really have to go through the entire process. And I'm really glad that I did, because I now realize that Unity is not going to fix me. It's simply going to put me on my pathway. And I don't think it needs fixing, it needs nurturing. Now, when I came to Unity, I was immediately recruited for the youth ed department. They said, hey, you work with kids all the time. You know how to deal with kids. I didn't think there was a whole lot of dentistry going on in the youth ed department. But the good thing for me was anytime you teach, you must first learn. So the idea is teachers teach and you learn, but the reality is the teachers had to learn first before they teach. And that was exactly what happened to me in the youth ed department. It was the first time I learned about Unity's 12 principles. It was the first time I heard about Unity's 5 principles, which only through Reverend Terry's patient tutelage have I finally figured out. I think I now know them. But there were other things that really appealed to me here that I heard about. The fact that we honor all paths to God. That is such a different message to me. And the fact that there is no dogma. Because the church I came from was the definition of dogma. So this is all fabulous and wonderful, and I'm going like, wow, this is great, but what about God is the source? That was the one that tripped me up, because I still had the image of the wrathful God, and I also had moments in my life where I didn't really feel like God had delivered. Let's talk about these. So when I was a father of young children, of course, I got to change diapers. We all change diapers, right? And I thought to myself, if God is the source of this, I'm not sure I really want more of God. And when I was a student in college, I had to work every single summer. I worked on road crews, I worked in copper mines, I worked on construction crews, where I was called college boy by all the people that worked there. Hey, college boy. And I was a laborer. I had to pull down concrete forms, I had to haul 2x4s, and at no point in time did anybody come to rescue me. Where was God then? I really couldn't figure out, well, where is the source that Unity keeps talking about? Well, I did think back on when my grandmother, who used to love to bake cookies, would say to me, well, just help yourself to any cookies. And I know that there was a saying that says, God helps those who help themselves. So I thought, well, my ticket to being helped by God is eating cookies. A position I have since changed, by the way. I ultimately came to consider this, God helps those who help themselves, in a much different light. And I now feel like I am more prepared and more educated to speak with you today about that topic. I've learned quite a bit through lessons from Reverends Max Lapser, Anna Joy Grace, and our own Reverend Terry. Also serving on the Board of Trustees as your treasurer, as your president, and also taking classes has really changed my opinion about all of this. And it makes me feel like now, okay, I think I have a better idea. Now, John Crossan, who is a noted scholar, wrote in a book, I love this, some say that God is everywhere present. But actually, that's not true. Only Google is everywhere present. Well, I love that John, who is a biblical scholar, has a sense of humor. And he's right. However, Unity, what we say is God's presence is everywhere. And I really agree with that statement, except that I need to modify it by just a couple of letters. The letters that I want to change are the C and the E and turn them into a T and an S. And say God's presence are everywhere. That is what I believe. So I thought to myself, well, presence is a word that talks about a way of being or location, but the T-S presence really talks about what I believe is what God is all about. God has a presence for all of us. So in trying to find a quote from the Bible, I felt like, well, I need to quote the Bible, because I'm doing a church lecture. So I came up with this one from Hebrews. They said, by faith we understand the universe was created by the word of God, so that what is seen was not made out of things visible. What is seen is not made of things that are visible. Now that really, really resonates for me. And so what I think is, okay, I'm going to run with that one. So God's presence are truly everywhere. It's in you, it's in me, it is everywhere. So let's take a look at a variation on Unity's second principle. Every human being has a spark of divinity within, the Christ Spirit. The essence is of God. And this month, as we have already learned, that spark is called will. Now I quickly want to add that I think that all 12 of the powers provide a spark. So these are some of the gifts from God. The presence is everywhere. Now at this point, I want to go into some personal stories and kind of talk about how my awareness has really changed about all of this. This is a picture of my parents. Nice people. I was fortunate to come from a family that was supportive and not abusive. It was really quite a miracle when I hear other people's stories. But in the final years of their lives, they were very, very challenged. My mother had MS, and for the final 3 years of her life, she was literally bedridden. She could not get out of bed. So that is where she spent her final years. And her last wish in life was to die at home. She did not want to go to a hospital. She did not want to go to an institution. She wanted to die at home. My father, who was a pack or two a day smoker, eventually contracted throat cancer. And doctors said that you only have months to live. And his final wish in life was to outlive my mother so that she could die at home. Yeah. So, on April 15th of 1992, my parents had their 50th wedding anniversary. They threw a party in Tucson, Arizona on a beautiful day, catered by their favorite restaurant, invited all their friends because they could no longer go to see their friends. They had to have their friends come to see them. Huge success. Mary Ellen and I were there. Wonderful party. Everybody celebrated on April the 15th. 17 days later, on May the 2nd, my mother passed away. 20 days later, on May the 22nd, my father passed away. So when I tell people that my parents died 20 days apart, they go, oh, that was just tragic. Actually, what I think was, even though they did not attend a unity church, I think that they realized that they are co-creators of reality through thoughts held in mind. Somehow they got that invisible message, and they made it to their party, they had a good time, and they both got their final wish. Now, I think that also you all know that I am a pediatric dentist, now retired, and during my career, I always said I'm doing two things at one time. I'm treating teeth, and I am caring for children. Those are two separate activities happening simultaneously, and I always focus on the latter. Now, during the course of my career, I got senior pictures, I got hugs, I got sneaky little valentines, I got invitations to 5 weddings of my patients. I'm their dentist. Now, how many of you invited your dentist to your wedding? During all of this, during the hugs, during the gifts, during all of these things, never once, ever, did a child say to me, Dr. Psaltis, thank you so much for the fillings. I believe there was something happening there that was invisible. Nobody trained me to do it. Nobody taught me to do it. It just was. I just knew how to relate to the kids in a way that would make them comfortable. And ultimately, I was never fishing for wedding invitations, but 5 of them came in, which I often consider the greatest achievement of my career in dentistry. Thank you. Now, this little girl, Juliani, was a patient of mine at my first volunteer project in Mexico, which was in Zihuatanejo. In Zihuatanejo, I worked with Doctora Cecilia Villasencia, and rather than say that name over and over again, I will just say Ceci, okay? So Ceci would always come in and introduce the patients to me. They go, this is Maria, or this is Pancho, whatever. And so one day she walked in with me on me. I took one look and I went, yeah, no. And she said, what do you mean no? I said, I saw Binyani last year, and I remember her quite well. She was screaming, she was hollering, she was writhing, she was kicking. This makes treatment dangerous, people. When you have high-speed, sharp equipment in a child's mouth and they are not holding still, it is dangerous. So I said, yeah, we're not going to see her. She was unmanageable a year ago. And Cece said, well, the mother told me that Bilyani is in pain and is ready to be cooperative. Well, this is a phrase I often heard in my practice, and then we had a reprise of the kicking, screaming, and hollering. However, to her great credit, and with my rudimentary Spanish, I talked to Bilyani, and she promised me that she would be a good girl. I said, okay. And she lived up to what she said. We did a root canal, we did a crown, we did a filling. She walked out happy. She was thrilled. Her mother was crying with gratitude. It was just this great scene. It's one that all pediatric dentists really live for. To have those moments when you do what you think can't be done. Well, 2 days later, Cece said to me, you have a special patient today. I went, who's that? I look up, and here's Bilyani smiling at me. And I said, Bilyani, ¿qué tal? What's going on? And she said the following words to me, quiero otra corona. Well, even with my basic Spanish, quiero otra corona is a phrase that I am aware of But usually I would say it in a restaurant.
Yeah.
But looking at my 8-year-old patient, I was pretty sure that she was not saying, I want another beer. Corona is the word for crown. And what Bianchi was saying was, I want another crown. So she came in, sat down, we completed the other side, another crown, a couple more fillings, and she walked out just on top of the world, as I did. And you can see it was Mary Ellen's debut as a dental assistant, and even she said, like, I've never seen anything like that before. I said, well, this is just what we do. She said, I don't think so. So I think every one of you have been challenged at one time or another, but if you really embrace community principles and the 12 powers, I think if I ask each and every one of you, could you tell me a story about when something invisible showed up in your life and you succeeded in something you weren't sure about? Each one of you could tell me, oh yeah, I had this time when, and you could tell a Brianni story. Well, so how the heck did you meet these challenges? Well, let me tell you. When I was changing my diapers, I had no problem because I had the will. Now, probably some of you are saying, well, you're the father. Probably it was love. People, when you're looking at a dirty diaper, love is not the first thing that comes to mind. It is the will to do it. And so when I said to Lisa, will to me means commitment, it's because you're committed to your child. I will do this for you, kid, even if it stinks and my eyes are burning. As far as being college boy on my work site and essentially being abused, not physically, but being verbally abused all the time by the workers, I could do that. I didn't have a problem simply because of the fact that I knew if I didn't do it, I would not be able to continue my studies at Stanford University. I needed the money, and this was the job I had. And so I had the will to do it. How about my parents? Well, I've already mentioned that they held thoughts in mind and created, and they were co-creators with God, but I also think that they did it by sheer willpower. Can you imagine a story more telling than that one for sheer willpower? Amazing. And finally, we come back to my friend Bianchi. What made her do it? Some of you may say pain. Well, I've seen plenty of kids in pain that would still not do it. I think Bianchi did it because she also had the willpower. These are all invisible gifts. Now, as we move toward the end, I want to tell you that 2 weeks ago, Reverend Terry said something that I liked so much, I wrote it down. She said, consciousness is contagious through words. And once again, I'm going to change those words a little bit to make it more sense to me. Because I said consciousness can be visualized through words. I love words. I think words are magical. And I think that words carry a message that isn't always obvious. Now, probably many of you know that if you take the word stress and you turn it around backwards, it spells dessert. Now, that is fabulous, isn't it? What could be more opposite than dessert and stress, right? Probably not as many of you know that if you take the word dormitory and rearrange the letters, it spells dirty room. Now, this is what I call poetry. Absolutely amazing. But I want to show you messages that I believe are hidden in words that will mean more to this talk this morning. And that is that several years ago, I hope this doesn't all show up at one time. Oh, it did. Okay. Right. It's going to take the surprise away. But anyway, I was elected to be on the board, and because I really wanted to do that. I felt it was my turn, I was interested, and I wanted to be stimulated by the experience. But I wondered, like, why in the world am I qualified? And somehow the word congregation came up, and I noticed that right in the middle of congregation was my name. And I went, well, dang, if I'm in the middle of the congregation, certainly I must be qualified to be on the board. But I looked around the room, and I do not see one more Greg in the room, and so people would call me out on that. They say, well, that's really cute, Greg, but I'm not Greg. I go, okay, well, let's look at the word church. And what does that tell us? What's in the middle of church? You are. Yeah. We all know the church is not the building. The church is the community. And you are the church. So now we're going to stretch it just a little farther. Because we're going to look at our way shower, Jesus. A man who obviously was deified by some thought he was God. We follow him because he set such a strong tone of honesty and integrity, and in every way, we all want to be just like Jesus, but of course, well, I don't know about you guys, I fall a little short, but still, he is our way shower. So when I look at Jesus' name, what does it say to me? J, E is us. G, he is us. Now, am I saying I'm Jesus? Am I saying you're Jesus? No. What I'm saying is that we light the Christ candle every single week because Jesus is in us. G, E is us. So this is how I find words to be so magical for me. I look for the message in them. So how the heck does this relate to where do you find God the source? Well, this is how you find God the source. When you look at that word, what do you see now? So, you are, see? So you are, see? The source isn't out there. The source is in here. And that's largely brought to you by the fact that we have the presence from God. So God's presence are everywhere, and I believe the power of will is part of what makes us able to overcome adversity. I believe that all 12 of the powers enable us to overcome situations or really succeed in situations that maybe we didn't think were so easy to do. So let's return to the book that we're reading and the board and talk about timing. I had decided a long time ago that I wanted to bring So You Are, See, Where Do We Find the Source? I wanted to bring that when Reverend Terry asked me to be the guest speaker. So in this book, which the board is reading, each chapter is a commitment. And as it turns out, this month we are reading chapters 11 and 12. And the commitment in chapter 11 is, I commit to being the source of my approval, control, and security, which are the three core wants of all human beings. Yeah, pretty good timing. Now this book, whether you're on the board or not, I would recommend this book. It's really quite a sensational book. It talks about so many things that I believe make us as leaders of your church better, but I think would make anybody who reads this book better. But I love the fact that here I am going to talk about So You Are, See as the source, and suddenly the book says, I commit to being the source. So we've looked at a couple of different books here. We've looked at the Chipmunk book, and we've looked at the 15 commitments. And so my question is, well, which one do you plan to follow? Well, all I can say is I plan to tap into those gifts from God, the presence from God, because now I feel like I know where the source really is. So I want to thank you for being here today and listening, and I hope what I've said has made a little bit of sense to you.
Thank you, Greg. So it is time to prepare for meditation. Are you doing meditation today? And we'll sing this wonderful Karen Drucker song. I will surrender to my greatest highest good. I will release any fear that blocks my way. For every step I take is taken in pure faith. And I'm stronger every moment, every day. I will surrender to my greatest highest good. I will release any
Now I invite you to close your eyes or fix them on a point as we move into meditation. Relax your body and your mind as we enter into a moment together to appreciate the Christ light that shines in each of us. Our bodies and spirits reflect the miracle of life as we focus attention on all that is good in our lives. There is one presence and one power in the universe, but there are many presents and many powers as well. We live our lives in the truth of who we are, and now, as we move into the silence, we quietly celebrate those many invisible gifts we have been given in the silence. Let every day be your best day and affirm your faith in life. We are spiritual beings living a human experience, and so we act and think with our bodies and minds to make the world a better place for all through the spiritual awakening that expands each day. As we do our part to transform the world, it is our spirituality that shines our light out to all. For this and much more, we are grateful and say, thank you, God.
I will surrender to thy greatest, highest good. I will release any fear, blocks my way. For every step I take is taken in your faith, and I'm stronger every moment, every day.
So we know that everyone here today is here by divine appointment. If you are new to Unity of Olympia, we'd like to get to know you better, so please join us downstairs in the social hall for coffee and conversation. As you walk into the doorway, there's a table there where you can pick up some more information about Unity and what Unity is all about. And know that the people who wear the green name tags are our welcoming team, and they would be happy to answer any questions you may have about Unity, and of course anybody in the congregation would be happy to answer questions too. So we now prepare for a time of conscious contribution. I'm going to invite the ushers to come forward. And so we at Unity of Olympia support to put feet to our faith by giving consciously. And we invite each one of you to give in any way that is comfortable for you, like through the website or Venmo. You can give here. So what I'd like to do is invite each one of us to move into a space of gratitude as we prepare to give our conscious giving. And if we can say this statement together. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, all that I have, and all that I receive. open to the sacred richness of our infinite source, we as Unity of Olympia joyfully co-create unlimited prosperity right now. Thank you, God.
I have a song y'all know, and it's about God's presence. I see trees green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and for you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies blue, clouds of white, the bright blessed day and the dark sacred night. I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Comes a rainbow so pretty in the sky, also on the faces, people passing by, and I see friends shaking hands, saying, how you do? They're really saying, I love you. I see babies cry and watch them grow. They'll learn so much more than I ever knew. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
Yeah. Please join me in blessing our gifts today. The daily word today said, I live in prosperity, and that is the truth for us. This is a celebration of that prosperity, knowing that what has been given will go on to do the good work that needs to be done for this community and a wider community. We're grateful for the fact that we can be supported in so many different ways, this being one of them. For this and more, we say, thank you, God, together. Thank you, God. So it is.
And if you can make your way up forward, please. So please remember to submit any prayer requests that you have, either in the front or the back. Linda will be in the back by the window for prayer. So please join her there if you're so moved. Please check your bulletin, and there will be, all of our activities up here on the screen. And Anne, would you like to give us a message?
I would, and Cynthia's going to help me.
As you know, Cynthia and I are your representatives to Interfaith Works, and there's a big project coming up. You saw the basket downstairs. Interfaith Works in our community does so much good. All the faith communities working together. So this is a basket of gifts from Unity for the celebration. It's the 50th year of Interfaith Works. So that event is on September 21st of this year. And Kyle is saying, well, let's get this basket filled by the 1st of September. So that is our goal. So think of those things. The theme is all things Olympia, our wider community, and we love our community. So think of those gifts, maybe a gift that you have or you can find, or maybe a special gift of a gift card, maybe for a local business that we know is working for the good of all too. So thank you, and be watching for those tickets. I think if we go to the website, didn't you say, for Interfaith Works on our computers, we could find that the tickets are already on sale, and we're hoping we'll have a lot of Unity people there at that event. I think that's it.
Thank you, Annie. Anything else from you, Greg? Okay.
I have something, just to remind everybody that next Sunday is our visit to the Longhouse, Grandfather Roy Wilson's Longhouse. So dress very casually, because we'll probably be in a smoky Longhouse, and bring food for a potluck afterward. My friends from Unity of Centralia will also be joining us, I hope. So be sure and sign up. Carpooling recommended, and I believe the sign-up sheet has been circulated and is also online. So thank you. We'll see you next Sunday, I hope.
What time is that?
We're going to leave here after the happy hour. Where will I hang out? I think he'll probably start speaking about 12:30. If you need instructions on how to get there, directions, we can circulate that by email if they haven't already been distributed. Okay, so thank you all. I think it's going to be, he's just thrilled to have us come. And he's been pastoring at Unity churches for many years, so as a speaker and so on. So hope to see you
Okay, so
there.
let's meet here next week after service for the Longhouse trip.
Here
Okay.
after service.
All right, thank you. And our flowers today were done by Terry Lonsberry, and I'd like to present them today to somebody who I went with on a hike yesterday, and that's Carol Moore.
So let's all stand and let's do the prayer of protection. Okay, for time. Read that for those. So, the light of God surrounds us. We are the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. We are the love of God. The power of God protects us. We are the power of God. The presence of God watches over us. We are the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Thank you at home for joining us. Hope to see you again next week. And